evening, everybody, and welcome to the Chrissy B Show. Now, as well as our top quirky news today, we're also going to be having hairstylist Robert Ari here to demonstrate different modern looks on his model for tonight, Sam Burville, and to give you some great ideas to try on yourself for festive events coming up. So if you have your parties booked up, you're going to look fab after tonight's show. And I'll also be playing you my recent winter hair makeover, which took place at Maximiliano Centini's. And we'll be showing you that a bit later on. But first of all, we have our lovely news. Not lovely news, news with the lovely Excel. How are you, my love?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. Hello, Chrissy.
Now, this is obviously every Friday we have our top to toe section, don't we? So we cover the news and we cover different things. So have you got some interesting stuff for us today?
Well, yeah, interesting. You mentioned party season just now. I think I've got something here that we all need to consider for the party season.
But shall we talk about Nelson Mandela first?
I know, I have to say, yes, it was a...
I
have to say I did shed a tear this morning as I read the paper. I did. I thought he was a really lovely man, and it's just such a
lovely, influential, powerful,
exactly.
Inspirational.
And there's just something about him. I think the president of the country was the one who summarized it. That what people loved about him, his human side was what made him special. And I think he's just an example of how, you know, not how we should all be. I'm not saying we should all be like Nelson Mandela, but
it wouldn't be a bad thing.
Well, exactly. You know, we've had worse role models, but I think at the end of the day, he's just the kind of person where, I mean, even being imprisoned, he didn't hold a grudge. He actually came out.
Well, he went in all fired up, didn't he?
Exactly,
and, like, you know,
and then
angry and everything, and he just came out.
And I think something interesting that he said as he was walking out of prison, he had to be conscious of the fact that he wanted to leave the grudges behind and come out, because if not, he would still be in prison if he was to take out the pain with him. So it's a very he's an inspirational man, Madiba as he's fondly called.
Well, he's finally at rest now, which is great. I think I'm glad. Well, hopefully he enjoyed the rest of the years when he did come out of prison, and he was.
I mean, he was president. He was literally
from
prisoner to president.
It's quite a stressful post, isn't it? At the end of the day, but obviously he did great. So
yeah. Definitely, definitely.
What else do you have for us, Excel?
Well, today I thought I'd bring a bit of a controversial topic for our viewers, and also get them to call in, because I think it might be interesting to hear what people have to say about this topic. And it's the subject of abortion.
Ooh.
Yes, and like I said, you mentioned party season. Chrissy mentioned party season just now, and I think it's interesting because. For that reason of being carefree, you're having a party, you've gone out to sort of enjoy with your workmates, and sort of reckless abandon, you know, and they kind of do things people regret, and then that sort of causes a surge, unfortunately, in things like abortions and after the morning after pill, etc., and all of that. So I think, but I also wanted to bring it from the point of view of how it can also be used for good. Maybe you don't think it's for good. Maybe you think it's all bad. This is the
thing, isn't it? Because I don't think when people talk about abortion, I don't think it's just black and white. I think each case is individual.
Yep.
And like you said, there are people that are irresponsible and they don't use protection when they're having sex, and then people get pregnant, and you know, that obviously that's down to the people have to be responsible. And I disagree, you know, with what's happening in that sense. But then there's other cases where, you know, for example, can you really expect a woman that's been raped to go ahead with the birth? There's some that do go ahead with it because they, I don't know, they've maybe got the structure. They don't blame obviously the child because it's not the child's fault, and they're able to bring up that child. But there's other women that wouldn't be able to handle that, and it's just too much for them. Yeah,
and that's what makes it a personal, on an individual issue, in a person-to-person basis. And I mean, just to sort of throw some statistics out there as well. Obviously, we all know abortion is the intentional termination of a pregnancy after conception, and it involves obviously removing an undeveloped embryo or fetus. And because it's a choice, I think a lot of the time people think you can make the right choice, but like we've already identified, the right choice could vary for a number of different reasons. And at the present moment in time, it's only allowed, it's legal if the pregnancy is less than 24 weeks, and that is when you're allowed to actually carry out an abortion, because you obviously you don't need to have any sort of what you call it. You don't need, there's no other criteria aside from the fact that you know that you want to do this. This is your choice. And then I think you get signed off by 2 doctors and everything. However, there are cases where people say, because I mean, I know people, for example, who say, if I have a child that I've discovered has a medical condition, I will abort.
Yeah.
Because they say, I don't want to have to go through.
Again, there's people, women or parents that will say, you know what, I don't care. I'm going to love that child. It's not that you're not going to love the child, but think of if it's that child is going to suffer. All these, you have to take all these things into consideration. That's why I don't like it when it's things that try to be made so black and white. Abortion is wrong or abortion is right. You have to see, you have to take each case individually.
Absolutely. And I think
at the end of the day, if that child is suffering and then the parents end up suffering because of it,
because actually the right to have an abortion came up from the Abortion Act of 1967, and a lot of the things, it's a big paper, you know, go through everything, but the key points really where it talks about if it's going to be carried out, if an abortion is going to be carried out, it is down to the fact that whether continuing with the pregnancy would involve a greater risk to the woman's life than ending the pregnancy. Continuing with the pregnancy would involve a greater risk to the woman's physical or mental health than ending the pregnancy. Or continuing with the pregnancy would involve a greater risk to the physical or mental health of the woman's existing children. Now, I didn't know that.
Oh.
That is also, I have to say, I didn't know that. So it's not just about the woman, but if for whatever reason there's a physical or mental health effect on her existing children, there is a right to do that. And then obviously the last bit about if a child is born, he or she would have a serious physical or mental disability. And I think making a decision really is not an easy one, but
it's not, is it?
But I think some of the things I found out in my research was that, for example, even when you're under 16 years of age, you can have an abortion without telling your parents. Because as long as 2 doctors, again, it's the 2 doctor thing, as long as 2 doctors believe that it's in your best interest and you fully understand what's involved. But then again, one would argue, 16-year-old, in fact, under 16, are they
under
really,
16 is a bit,
are they
that
really
is young because
kind of, you know, so it's one of those things where you kind of think.
I suppose people think, oh, because if they're old enough to get pregnant, they're old enough to make that kind of decision. But at the end of the day, they're still children.
Very much so.
And they need that support, they need support through that time.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously, in an ideal world, they wouldn't be pregnant in the first place, but unfortunately, the world we live in today, people aren't being careful and children are having children and we're just getting this recurring thing happening now. It's really tough. Yep,
and some shocking statistics I found out as well. Well, I got the ones from 2011. It says 189,931 abortions were carried out in England and Wales, compared to 189,574. So an increase of 0.2%. And 91% of abortions were performed at less than 13 weeks of pregnancy and 78% at less than 10 weeks. And the abortion rate was highest for women aged 20 years, and the majority of abortions, 96%, were funded by the NHS.
Oh gosh.
So there is a high number.
It's a tough topic to.
Yeah. So I mean,
I
think it would be interesting to get what your viewers have to say about it.
Yes, if you do want to give us a call, you can do so on 020-7686-6300. You can also tweet at Chrissy B Show, and also you can post your comment on Facebook, The Chrissy B Show. We'd love to hear what you think. Is it, do you think that things should be judged on an individual case? Or you're dead against abortion, whatever the consequences, whatever's going to happen? Do give us a call and let us know your views. I was an accident. I wasn't meant to be here, actually. My mother and father weren't expecting me. I just said, hello, everybody, I'm here.
I was an afterthought.
I was hoping I was a good accident.
Yeah, I was an afterthought myself, yeah. It was like, let's see. Yeah,
so
one more would even it out.
In that sense, I'm glad I wasn't aborted.
Absolutely, and I think looking back on it, I think that's what makes it kind of, I don't know, that's what makes it a bit of a shame, really, that a woman would be in a position where she would think of ending. Because I mean, there's different, for example, there's different reasons why someone would want to do that. But I think for the fact that I can't afford it, I don't want to be a single parent, or I'm not ready to have a child, or sort of what I would consider personally, not quite so overwhelming or disastrous reasons. I mean, if it's a case of, for example, I mean, I know, like I said, I know people who unfortunately had to end, they had to take out their unborn children because they had a physical, they actually had a physical condition that would have ended their lives. They probably died in childhood and as a toddler or something. And so they made that painful decision to do that. And I think it's, for them to even do that, they're brave, because I don't even know what I would do in that scenario. I wouldn't know whether I would rather take care of a sick child or rather get rid of them before they were born. I don't know what I would do.
Either way, there's a lot of guilt involved, isn't there? And
definitely.
it's a really tough decision. So I really do feel for people that have to make those decisions.
Yeah.
But we're going to go to a quick break.
Yep.
And like I said, we'll probably move on to another news story. But if you do want to get in touch and still, give your opinion, you can do so on 020 7686 6300. Do join us after this.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to the show. Now, before we continue with some more news, and obviously later on we're going to be having Robert Ari here to show us some great hairstyles, let's just answer this question from a viewer. Now, this person says, I was working full-time and my partner was looking after our daughter who is 2 years old, but he said that I was taking him for granted. He does not work and would be at home anyway. She goes to nursery, so it's not like he has her all day every day. But now he's walked out. What would Chrissy do? Now, I think this one's a bit of a hard one to answer because there seems to be quite a lot going on here. I don't think it's just the case of, the childcare issues. Now, it sounds like obviously he was upset to be a stay-at-home father. Now, I can understand if he was upset because maybe it was something that the two of you hadn't discussed when you got pregnant. So if you'd planned before, okay, I'm going to go to work and then you'll stay at home and look after the child, then obviously that's something that you both discussed and he would have been fine with that. Now, if for any reason he was planning to go back to work and find another job and stuff, and now he's at home looking after a 2-year-old, which is quite stressful, I think, for most people, maybe he does feel taken advantage of because he wasn't actually planning it. Now, what I would do in your situation is, first of all, try to contact him. Now, not obviously in an accusing way to have a go at him. Yes, you're angry, obviously, because it's not a nice thing that he just walked out. It's quite irresponsible, but then, of course, I don't know all the circumstances. However, I think the two of you really need to sit down and discuss what you can do about the situation, because that child needs his dad as well at the end of the day. Now, when the two of you have discussed it, I really think also that you should consider some kind of marriage counselling, because, as I said, I think this issue runs a bit deeper than just the childcare stuff, so you can consider that as well. And also, if you are both adamant about, wanting to work, why don't you find out about some organisations so you can get some extra help, some advice on childcare and things like that, because those options are always available around you. And don't be afraid to ask for help. It's not a shameful thing. It's tough having kids. Some people get more stressed than others, and especially if there's other issues going on, it's a hard thing to do, to bring up children. So never feel shy about asking for help or asking for advice from someone that's got more experience. But definitely, I think the first thing you should do is try and contact your partner. But as I said, not shouting, not arguing with him, but just to have a conversation away from your child, obviously, so two of you have privacy, and try and see what the real issue is here and sort it out as soon as possible. I do hope that's helped. And if you're watching at home and you have a little dilemma that you're going through, or a big dilemma, you can email me on chris@chrissybshow.tv and I will let you know what I would do in your situation. But back to the news now. Hey, Excel.
Hello.
You're still here then? You didn't walk off?
No, I didn't. I'm still here.
Okay.
I mean,
what do you have for us now?
Just sort of following on really from previously, it's interesting what the question that your viewer just asked you, because some of the reasons as well why some women would say they wouldn't want to be a single mother is because they do not want to have to go into the whole unreliable partner scenario. Is one of the reasons that's been given here. They're not emotionally prepared, and they do not want to go into something where they will be faced with no prospect. So all of these are reasons. But then again, like you just said, these are things you would talk about when you enter a relationship, not one that you would sort of want to resolve when you find out that you're pregnant. And I think that's where the whole...
but that's the point, isn't it? People... Okay, there are people in unstable relationships, and there are people that are just having sex all over the place and they're not thinking. Yeah. Or they're thinking with the wrong body part. And that's the problem at the end of the day. And that's why these accidents happen. So, you know, it's a completely different... Cause that's the thing. If you don't think about what you're doing first, and please, also around this time of year as well, people are going to parties. There's a lot of stuff that goes on at office parties when people have too much to drink. That's where, you know, a lot of relationships break up because of cheating. That's where a lot of women get pregnant because they're not thinking. They just let loose and they don't think about what they're doing. So you have to be really, really careful. You can't just, okay, yes, enjoy yourself by all means, but also use this.
I think it's also sort of interesting because, I mean, following on from that, there have been, like we talked about earlier, it might be for medical reasons. I also picked up in my research a few things where a woman who, where is it? Oh, there's a condition known as where a woman will become a woman who's already diabetic and develops a condition in pregnancy where it's a long Latin word, but it's basically uncontrollable vomiting that is associated with it. So not just the little early morning sickness type thing, which is normal, but then it develops into a serious condition where she becomes malnourished and dehydrated, and in spite of intravenous therapy and other treatment, she also could develop heart failure amongst other things. And from this sentence is interesting. It says only an abortion will cure this life-threatening condition. So when you kind of look at that in that context, you just think, oh, abortion is a cure. You know, it's kind of, you know, it's quite, but then again as well, I think leading on from that, it's like there are those who say you can't use that to say I'm going to, because they see it as sort of like you're picking normal people or sort of perfect babies to be born, because again, so there's also some argument that follows through with people who say those who, like I said, I know people who would want to remove their babies if they find them with a physical condition. They say, well, then that means people with disabilities are being discriminated against, and that doesn't make it, because people have said, for example, for a number of diseases, say for like Down syndrome, cleft palate, they would abort their children, and you just really think that would be really...
So where do you draw the line?
Exactly, you know, where
it's true, you're saying, oh, my baby has to be perfect.
Exactly.
If I'm going to have it. If not, that's it, I'll get rid of it.
And this was something that happened in, I think in the 40s or so in America, where they were actually picking, there was actually something that was going on, which was an actual selecting, it was selective abortion back then, and they would actually pick the ones that would survive, and they would pick the ones that were perfect to be born. And so, you know, in a lot of ways, you would think, okay, I don't want any hassle, but really, you're not, you know, it's just cruel in that sense, I find. But, you know, in this, I mean, this has taught me, I don't know, I don't even know if I have any clear black or white sort of like opinion to this, really, because it's all a bit grey. It's all very grey. Also, you'd be interested to find out that in India, there is actually the problem of female, I think you say feticide, where they deliberately abort fetuses that are girls because they place a high importance on the male gender, and so if it's not a baby boy,
it's like living in the dark ages sometimes.
And it actually carries on, and they make it. It's actually even recently, I believe it was in July.
And it's legal there.
Well, it's not legal, but it goes on. This is the thing. It's not. It's frowned upon, but then again, it's not. It's almost like, how do you, you know, how do you...
Culture plays a big role in this, and so does religion as well.
Exactly.
So obviously, there's some religions that say it's wrong no matter what to have an abortion. But the thing is, I believe in God, but I also believe that God is caring. And for example, in certain cases, that where, you know, someone has been, for example, raped, or they're just a child and they don't have the structure to take care of
a child,
another child. I don't think God's going to be like, oh my, you know, I'm going to send you to hell because you've done that. I don't believe that. This is what I mean. But I know there's some people that are so scared, they're frightened because of a religion that they will do anything because they're afraid of doing anything else.
Something interesting that happened actually. Again, this was last year. A dentist actually died because she was a resident of Northern Ireland, and she died because she had complications with her pregnancy. But they refused to abort the child, to induce labor, to remove the child, because the child was already actually, if you like, dying inside her, and it was causing her pain. But they refused to carry out the abortion because they are a Catholic country, and that was the point. And she actually ended up dying, and she actually ended up, and there was no doubt whatsoever, because it was as a result of that, it poisoned her blood. She ended up dying from septicemia. Yeah. So it was like that could have been prevented. Okay, there was a child inside her, but then you could have saved the mother to have another chance at having a family. This was going to be her first child as well, and so she would have been alive to try again for another one. And so now, I think it was in August of this year, they've actually carried out the first legal abortion in Ireland, because again, another woman's life was at risk, and so they finally now allowed it. I mean, it's just
you need to think
with each scenario. Absolutely, with each scenario, I think it's important, because when you just sort of have this whole no, then you're not really allowed. And there are other ways of sort of speaking, if you like, sort of saying, oh, you don't want to encourage, or you want to speak against, you don't want to. Well, okay, well, consider each scenario for what it presents, and I think that's what it's yeah.
Hey, so you're going to stay with us, because we're going to completely change the subject now, because
Absolutely.
we're going to talk all about hair, because I think we've covered the news today, haven't we? On a lighter topic now, let's talk about hair and different hairstyles for the winter and stuff. Stay on, because obviously you'll get an opportunity to ask. Do you have some questions about hair?
As long as I don't have anything done to me today, because the last time I stayed on for a fashion tip, I had my eyebrows tweezed and plucked and waxed and all sorts.
The poor thing, she didn't actually know that would happen, so she was very brave. She had waxing done and she had plucking done, and it was fab. You did great.
I'm happy to be Chrissy B's guinea pig. What can I say?
I don't know, Rob might get out his scissors tonight, you never know.
Don't you dare, Robert. Don't you dare.
All right, so do join us after this.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Hello viewers, and today we are at Maximiliano Centini's, and we are here for a hair makeover. As you know, it's getting cold now, winter's approaching, and it's time for a winter makeover. And I've got my friend Audrey here with me, so she's also going to get her hair done. Are you looking forward to Audrey?
I'm so looking forward to this. It's so exciting. I've been waiting the whole day.
Oh, she has been excited. Okay, so we want a different look, don't we? We don't want to sort of come out looking the same.
No, we want exactly to be wow, you know, like this is my winter look and I own it.
All right, and our husbands are waiting for us at home to see the new look, so hopefully they'll be happy with it as well. So we're going to be also speaking to the owner here as well. He's going to be telling us about some great winter looks, different colours maybe that would suit you as well. So we're going to be talking to him later on as well. So do join us in a bit. Well, guys, what do you think? I love it. I love your Audrey. I think you look amazing.
Love you as well.
Let's talk about yours first. I mean, look at this. I love her fringe. I think it looks a lot more modern. Really, really nice. I think it suits you. And we were saying that we have to go shopping for clothes now because she needs some. We need to modernize everything.
To modernize everything for this new look for winter.
Yeah. What do you think of mine?
I think it's lovely. Your color shines, your hair shines. It's full of volume. It's great. Well done, Max.
So we're definitely ready for the cold winter days because we've got a nice haircut and color.
We are all warmed up now.
Thank you. Right, so now it's time to ask Max about some winter looks. So Max, what do you think is a great look for winter in general for ladies?
I think one of the main problems we have in winter is the condition of the hair. We have central heating on, we have air conditioning on, we have a very humid environment, so it's very important for a woman to start looking after the hair right from the beginning. 2013, this winter, we're going for longer hair, like a lot healthier looking hair, rich looking hair. So we, instead of aiming for a different haircut, I would aim for strategic colors.
What about the ladies and actually the gentlemen as well that really want to get a haircut?
Yes. So if you really want to have a different type of haircut, you can work with layers and, if anything, accessorize it. I would say accessorize. Yeah, I think.
Any tips for that?
Synthetic hair or hair extension clips, anything which you can make add a little bit of fun. Every time you choose to learn a trade other than a profession, is always a risky decision because a trade comes with a lot of pressure financially, but also a lot of time then you have to spend learning and master this trade. But I always believe in being a hairdresser, being able to do something like I do. It's a positive job because it enriches people, it makes women feel empowered, and I think that's what it's all about for me.
Thank you so much for today. It's been such a wonderful experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to do your hair.
Welcome back, and now I'm here with hairstylist Robert Ari and his lovely model Sam. Hello.
Good afternoon.
How are you? And you're 3 stone lighter, Robert.
I am. Now I am.
Do you remember him? I don't know if you remember him from last time.
You don't need a wide angle lens now. You can use the one you got.
See, I thought it was your hair. When I first saw him, I thought there's something different about you. And I thought,
oh, it's definitely my hair.
Yeah, it's definitely your hair. It's taken so much weight off you.
Totally. I've lost about 4 pounds just in my hair.
So how have you been?
Not bad, actually. Not bad.
Good.
Since I saw you last.
Yeah.
Just creating some new hair.
So you're going to be giving our viewers some tips and advice tonight?
Yeah,
because obviously it's party season, people are going to be celebrating Christmas and New Year and they want to look good. But maybe they don't want to have a drastic change, but maybe it's just something a bit different.
Well, exactly. I mean, a lot of it, very long hair at the moment, a lot of balayage going, a lot of hand painting, like this with model here, we've got Sam. What we've done here, we've given something, a special type of plait. So we've put some type of texture through here. And if you can see that in the camera there, we've got a nice little interesting part for a little party, something interesting to actually go out and show your friends. Quite easy to do, not difficult at all. And what we're going to do on this hair, we're going to change it into something else, into another hair up. But a hair up that's going to be always, the altercation going to be...
You could put tinsel through there.
You could do, you could put lights on it. All the LED lights these days, you know, they look quite cool. But that'd be not bad, isn't it? You have a little camera pack in the back there.
Oh dear.
But okay. You know, then we're gonna take some hair, we're gonna actually give it a little plait around the corner here, around the side, and I'm gonna be talking at the same time, so I'll be trying to multitask. Being a man, it's quite difficult, isn't it? You know? So we'll try.
Were you watching the news the other day by any chance when they were talking about that study they were doing? No, never mind.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
You're gonna open a can of worms there, that's it, isn't it? And I think, you know, colour-wise, we've got some nice textures going on, all hand-painted. So Sam had loads of highlights and she got so bored of the roots of the highlights, we started tinting it out. So now we've got some nice tones running through it.
Sorry to sound really naive about this, but what do you mean by hand-painting exactly?
So we use the balayage technique where instead of putting foil in it and taking the hair through in very structured sections, we've taken sections and we've literally just put the colour through and painted it through the ends to make it look like, say, it's softer. So it's more like a very sophisticated dip dye. So it's a bit of an ombre going on, which is like more of a two-tone, but it's very gentle. It goes from one to the other. So it looks like she's got like 4-inch roots on purpose. not a creation, more of a on purpose creation. Okay. Yeah, and what we're going to do here, we're going to take this section here, and I shall spin around a section, I think, so we can do this with a camera. And we're going to change it quickly. I think the thing is with plaiting, you can change so many interesting haircuts at this point. and try and get yourself something that's happening when it's party season. You can create different looks. You know, just the colours going through it just seems to give it an interesting, different look. You could do this to your hair, Chrissy.
I was going to say that because I think it's easier to style longer hair sometimes, isn't it? Because I've had a bit of trouble since I cut my hair.
Oh,
to
really?
kind of do different styles, yeah.
I think what it is, you know, long hair can be, some people get so worried, you know, they have the same type of plait or the same type of texture. They don't want to cut the hair off, but you don't need to cut hair off. You can do so much to it when it's long. And
I know that now.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but now you've seen this, you see, you just want to have it cut.
I want long hair again.
But I think the fact is, just trying to make it look a bit different is very nice. You know, you can stay blonde. I mean, as you can see, there's lots of blonde on this hair, but it's never going to give Sam a root. I mean, she could go months without having this finished again. You know, you shouldn't have to have highlights done. The classic highlights are all finished now, I think. You don't need to foil highlights with 300 foils in it, looking very heavily blonde. I think the by accident colours are more interesting. And
Did you do a lot of those?
We do, by accident. And you know, I think, you know, the hair's got to look far more natural at the moment. I mean, it will come back maybe, but I think the problem is with it is that you know, you can learn when you're learning hairdressing. It takes ages to learn how to foil properly, whereas balayage you can be quite creative. You get some interesting looks and tell everyone that it's done on purpose.
Now, aren't sort of the winter looks more sort of the dark kind of looks, or what would you say? Yeah,
very muted, very muted. As you can see, they're muted blondes here. They're not very bright. Yeah. Some of the russet reds are in the chocolate browns. I think what's interesting with all this is you've got to play with it. I mean, you know, when it goes to, you know, it's a bit like autumn, winter, and spring and summer. You get different collections going on all the time, and I think you have to make sure that you've got hair to change. So if you're going to cut it short in the summer, you can grow it for the winter. Yeah. If you're going to colour it, you've got to make sure you're not going to damage the hair too much.
So Rob, why is my hair taking a whole year to grow?
You can do this; it will get longer.
Oh, okay. Didn't think of that. That's a good.
Look, your hair's. Well, I saw it last time. It was definitely shorter.
It was up to there actually.
Yeah,
so it has grown,
definitely.
but I was expecting it to sort of be back to normal by now.
Oh, totally. And I think you've got lovely hair. You have to let me plait it. You see, Sam. And what we're going to do? We're literally going to just push the ends out. So we've got a bit of softness. And then what we could do is show you what's happening here. So now you've got two interesting plaits going on. And you've got one sweeping all the way around, so you've got lovely long hair, and it sits up. We could take this round here, so you've got the actual sort of spin you all the way around.
Oh, that's lovely, that is. Oh, I like that.
It's very pretty, you know. And
can we see that on the camera?
And you can see the textures.
Let's go. Oh, that's lovely. Ooh,
you know, and
very nice.
And it took 3 minutes basically, you know. And you can turn it into a fishtail plait. You can have very interesting plaits at the bottom. We can actually bring you around again, Sam. So we can have a
You're gonna make her dizzy, the poor thing. You're right.
This can be pinned up in here. Oh. So you can have a proper look, very very funky if you're going out to a wedding, or you're just going to a summer party or a winter party or nice. New Year's Eve party. So there's a lot you can do there. And I think what's interesting with this is the fact is it just seems to look softer with the colours, doesn't it, all the way through?
And
this
that didn't take long at all. That's great. That didn't take long at all. That's really good.
Didn't.
Now you're going to stay with us, Rob, aren't you? Because we've got lots of questions for you. Sam, thank you so much. Been a lovely model. No, you can stay. Don't worry. Don't run off yet. Okay. And after the break, if you have any questions that you'd like to email through, do so, because Rob's going to be here for the next part of the show too. And Excel, who's sitting over there already on the sofa, she's got a few questions about Afro hair as well, haven't you?
Yes, I do.
So she'll be representing the Afro community tonight. All right, so do join us after this.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show. Always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show. Always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to the show, and we did of course start speaking about hairstyles before the break, and we still have Robert here with us. Robert Ari.
I'm still here.
Yes, he's still here. So obviously, you know, the way you have your hair, and if you do have a nice hairstyle and you love it, it can do wonders for your confidence, and in the opposite way as well. If you don't like your hair, you don't really like your looks, how you're looking at the moment, it can really make your confidence go down. So we want to give some tips to our viewers tonight. Now, Excel, you've got a few questions for Afro hair.
Yes.
Or just say, like, is it a lot different, sort of the way we look after the hair?
How you style it is a lot different, but you have to enrich it. You know, it's very much organic, and it's very much, it might, you know, as it comes out of follicle, our hair is very, very dead as such, and so on. But Afro hair is very much you need to actually oil it, and you need to fluff it up from the inside out, and that's what you've got to do. And I think if you look after your hair, especially with yours, you've got to give it a lot of TLC, haven't you?
I do. It requires a lot of moisturisation, especially in this weather.
And heating, central heating, you know, that ruins your hair.
Yeah, definitely.
But what can you do about that though? Because obviously you need to keep warm.
Well, I think it's all you've got to have a beauty regime for your hair.
Tell us.
You've got to do it. You've got to you cleanse, toes, and moisturise your face.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure you re-moisturise your hair, and it could be natural oils. It could be tump of argan oil. It could be orifluido, like a softer, you know, a very very gentle oil with a very small molecule, gets into the hair shaft and puffs it up from the inside out. And you've got to do that. Lots of coconut oil. What do you use on yours?
Well, I actually, funnily enough, use argan oil as well. And I think I find there is, you can also have carrot oil, which I think it kind of varies because some people have the hair, your hair can be, Afro hair can be quite, what's the word? Dense and very, very, so if it's too heavy, it kind of looks limp. So you kind of have to use the right amount, I find. I think I've done a lot of trial and error with my hair through the years. And I think I've just found that if I use just the right amount of sort of level of moisture, keep it, what do you call it, steamed. Yeah,
it's got to be hydrated.
Well. Yeah,
it's got to be technically, you hydrate your hair too much and it flops. You know, it's bizarre actually how that happens. But I think what's interesting with Afro hair, it's mad. You can go really too far. Whereas your hair will get very static. You know, Excel's hair will literally just go flat. I mean, it's quite interesting.
All right, let's talk about styles then for a little while before we talk more about hair care. What kind of styles do you think would suit me, and what do you think would suit Excel?
I would say your hair, you could probably cut it into some type of chic little bob, something nice and chic and very soft, very on trend. Cut it straight off. I mean, all hairdressers want to cut your hair off, don't they? You know?
They do, but I'm talking about like rather than cutting it, say like a style, like you could just
style it. It could be a bit softer, a bit wavier. I mean, the thing is with your type of hair, just being quite natural and quite soft, you've got to make sure you have a curl in it that's going to last. And the problem is any curl, any wave is going to last probably 6 to 8 hours, and then it's flat. So it's very difficult for you to do it in that way. You know, the hairdresser's got to do it in the salon. You can give you tips. You can iron it. You can actually use some hot irons to give it a curl. But you do that too much, and it starts drying your hair out.
Yeah,
and that's the problem. And your hair as such, I think what's interesting, I love afros, and I think what's interesting about afro is that you have to make sure that you have the right type of what's in at the time. And I think what's interesting at the moment, if you have a very square shape, you know, so it actually gets very strong and very square. So it's not too round, you know, because if it goes too round, it's trying to bring a classic back. So at the moment you're doing it now. It's, you know, you've got quite a square texture going on here. It's blending into nothing here, which is good. Get some softness going on. It's looking funky.
I'm so untrained.
You know? And whatever you do, it moves, and it moves its own way. I love hair, so I keep touching hair. Anyone else touch hair?
I do hope you like hair, since you're a hairstylist.
And, you know, sometimes you see people in the street. There's a lady who walks past a shop at the moment, and she's got white roots and dark ends. I said, come here. I don't know if she's growing her hair out, though. I'll make sure. So I want to get her in. When I see her tomorrow morning, I'm going to tell her,
drag her into the shop.
We'll do it. Won't even charge you. Just come in. You're like a badger walking past the shop.
Stop it.
It's hilarious.
All right, let's talk about face shapes, and I think we've got a few minutes before we go. Should you be looking at your face shape before you get your hair cut or do anything to it, or even whether you have your hair up or down?
I think face shape has a massive part to play if you've got any part of your face that is out of proportion. You think it's out of proportion. So if you think you've got, you know, we did a shoot once with the most beautiful model, and she had this. I said to the stylist, "Can you put her hair up?" He said, I can't put her hair up. I said, why not? Her ears were massive. Oh. The biggest ears. So you couldn't put her hair up, but, you know, couldn't do it. But she was beautiful. She didn't care. Must have just do it. Did it look lovely? You know, she didn't mind. So it's what people think, how you perceive people that's the problem, and how people perceive you. So, you know, I think face shapes, you've got a heart-shaped face. You shouldn't be accentuating it with a big bob, because if you put a bob on it, it makes it wider. You know, if you've got a rectangular face, you need width and not height. So it happens all the way through, you know, all the way through it. You've got to keep changing it all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Have you got any questions, Excel, for?
I mean, I tend not to be too adventurous when it comes to colouring my hair, but I have done in the past. But is there any particular sort of like type of colouring you would say I could use?
I would say muted, very rich reds. They look very nice on
What do you mean by muted?
So they're not so bright. This is a bright sofa, but to have it quite burgundy would be quite muted, wouldn't it? Quite soft.
Would you think, though, because I have seen people sort of be quite daring with their colours. I mean, I'm glad you said red, because I actually, the times I have done it, I have dyed it red. But what about things like, I don't know, purple and blues and that sort of...
I think you've got it with hair, you've got to be on trend. So it's a bit like going to buy clothes, you go and buy clothes, you don't want to buy something that was there last year, you buy what's happening now. So spring, summer, autumn, winter hair trends, you just want to copy them. And if you copy those trends, you always stay in front of the competition. So, you know, if it's red, or, you know, it might not be what Rihanna did, because it's too red. It might be a really rich, muted red now, or a very warm brown. Something that looks like it's done naturally, not too heavy, because it will damage your hair as well.
Yeah, true.
You know?
So you're not thinking of dyeing your hair purple or anything, are you?
Yeah, we can do that.
Well, I was just exploring my options, really.
Watch this space, everybody. Robert, thank you so much for all of your advice.
Thank you very much.
And be careful over Christmas not to put the weight back on.
Oh, never. I won't. I'm going to eat anything.
No, you have to eat
No,
something.
you have to eat something.
No, natural food, you see, no rubbish.
No rubbish, yeah, right, let's see. Excel, thank you very much for your questions and for your news today.
Yes.
And we have reached the end of the programme, so if you want more information about our guests tonight, please do visit the website, chrissybshow.tv. And of course, if you have any questions for me, or you have something that you'd like to tell me about, or even if you have a suggestion for a show, maybe there's a topic that you'd really love to see us discussing on the programme, please do email me on chris@chrissybshow.tv. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and we'll see you again next time. Bye for now.